Everybody, welcome to another episode of Screen Peeking, a weekly podcast where Ziggy and I get together to talk about video games and everything related to video games. You can find Ziggy at Ziggy Hickson just about everywhere, and you can find me at Nicolo just about everywhere. This podcast is available on iTunes and Spotify, as well as on my Nicolo YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about our impressions of our Game Club game that was suggested last week. What we do every week here is we will suggest a game to each other and play it throughout the week, at least a half hour, and see how much we like it. And then we're going to come back the week after and give our impressions of it.
I'm excited about this week's, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like both of us have a lot to say. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this. So, Ziggy was streaming it on his Twitch channel recently. I think you have
if you want to watch my live reactions to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, then twitch.tv/Ziggy Hickson. I am like 3/4 of the way through, but I will likely finish it up soon on stream.
So good. I watched some of it. It was awesome. I tried recording a video for my channel to do an impressions of this game, of Katana Zero. That was my game, Katana Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish it actually recorded my audio properly. It didn't. And I basically am not wanting to put that video out. So yeah, it sucks because I really enjoyed this game and I have a lot to say about it. But let's start with you, Ziggy.
Okay.
As always, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing solid. We were kind of talking about this before. The weather's like real cold and dry down here right now, so it's kind of been like lots of jackets, lots of socks, lots of cracked lips. But yeah, no, I'm doing fine. I played lots of games, playing lots of Apex lately, lots of Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, both of those are on the docket.
Perfect. All right, well let's just jump into tell us how you feel about Resident Evil 7. You were worried about that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, to be honest. I like it. So, like hold on. I'm trying to get my words together.
That's fine.
I bought it on Steam like probably a year ago. I think actually in the last Halloween sale.
Right.
And I played it for like a bit, and it just stressed me out so much that I refunded it, and just kind of like never went back. But then you forced me to go back in, and I think since then I've just exposed myself to that stuff, like that specific type of horror more, I guess, like playing both of The Last of Us, which is, I mean, it's not strict survival horror, but it has a lot of the same elements, and specifically the elements that like drove me away from that. Like, The Last of Us had a lot of, so playing like 60, 70 hours of that series, I think really sort of got me used to that. And jumping in this time, it felt a lot better than it did last time. And also, like, playing Half-Life Alyx is sort of similar in how light you are on ammo constantly. Like, I think I've just been playing a lot more of that, sort of like slowly getting myself more comfortable with it. So this time, I was actually able to enjoy it a lot. It was, at least for the first, so yeah. Part 1, when I finished streaming, I think I messaged you, and I was like, yeah, it was honestly like a lot less scary than I was expecting. Like, it's just kind of like fun and campy. It's similar to like Halloween or something, like the movie, where it's definitely not the scariest movie I've seen, but it's just like kind of fun. Like, it's enjoyable. But it's still definitely scary and spooky. But and then I got into the second part, which you'll see in my stream, which I hate bugs, and it's all bugs. It's just all like gross, like fucking mold and spiders and flies and stuff, and there's
so many
nasty
bugs in that area. There's so many.
So bad. And like that definitely scared me a lot more, but I'm still totally enjoying it. It's so much fun. Just the way the way it like builds up towards scares, and I really like it has sort of a mix of like more modern horror and still very traditional like Resident Evil horror, and that has the like sections where it is ammo management and you're fighting those like mold monster things. And it's, you know, that very like methodical, like hitting headshots only, but it also has a lot of that like Amnesia or Outlast DNA in it. Like, you can tell it saw those games and saw what they did well and saw what they didn't do well, and just sort of took the good parts and implemented them in. And I think it worked super well because it has those like those chase sequences or the hide and seek stuff where you know, you're in the house and daddy's coming after you, and that feels
Ethan.
very Outlast. Yeah, Ethan. Or like the mom, I forget her name. But she was super scary
Marguerite.
every time. Yeah, Marguerite. She was terrifying. Like even aside from the bugs, just the way that she talks and yells is
Mhm.
so scary. But it was really really good. I just really like that blend of styles that it had. It made it just flow better, I guess, because and something like Outlast, I got bored of that style of horror pretty fast. Like just running away from monsters
I agree.
constantly got dull. But I like that but it was scary at first is the thing in that game. And
Oh
I
yeah,
like
that's a
that.
scary game.
Mm-hmm. But I like that it took like yeah, the things it does super super well and just cut away all the stuff that was boring and less effective about it and just kind of amped it up to 11 and something that's just generally higher production quality and a better smoother experience that I don't know, I really really loved it. I thought it was good. I'm definitely planning on finishing it. And honestly, after this, I might try to. There's like hair floating in front of my eyes. I might try to go back and play RE2 remake or something like that.
Cool.
Because I played the demo of that and that one even more than 7 freaked me right out. So, but I want to see if I can go back and play that after this because I'm into it way more than I was expecting.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I kind of want to play RE2 remake now as well. I have it on
Mm-hmm.
Steam, but I watched my brother play through most of it, so I kind of had that reason why I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
play through.
Yeah.
Those zombies in that game though, they're freaky. Just the way they're.
Yeah, they're rendered so well. And there's something about like the way the RE engine handles flashlights specifically,
Mhm.
like the way it like I don't know how to describe it. It just looks so
Just looks
much more
great.
real and scary than any other game. Yeah. Like the flashlights in RE2 remake especially, like the way it illuminates their faces and makes their eyes kind of like glint and stuff like that and like the reflections in the water and all that. It just looks so good and so scary.
Yeah, that lighting in that engine is just great as a
It's
whole for
insane.
sure.
That engine in general is just insane.
That burger, oh man, that burger scene at the beginning of RE2 remake. That's the one thing I remember from that game. Just that bite out of that burger. So it looks delicious. um, what did you
Well-rendered
think of the
food in games
puzzles
is always
in
fun.
Resident Evil 7?
Um, yeah, they're very old school,
Hmm.
which is sort of a double-edged sword. Like it is a lot of like key cards or not key cards, but just like keys for doors are is kind of the major puzzle piece. Like whether that's a very physical key for a door or like a crank for a crank that you
Yeah.
use. Like it's basically just finding an item, bringing it somewhere, and then using the item to get to a new area, which
Yeah.
is fine. Like it's effective enough. It just forces you to find places to go. But it's not really like standout puzzle design to me. But I didn't think it was obtrusive. Like I didn't really get annoyed by it. It was just I don't know, kind of there. Um, could have been better, I think. Like that, I think what I said about how it sort of like did a good job of modernize or taking modern elements. I kind of wish it took more modern puzzle elements as well instead of kind of sticking to that very sort of 90s school of puzzle design.
Mm.
But at the same time, it didn't bug me at all, so I'm not really complaining that much. I just think it could have been better if they did that.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Is
Mm-hmm.
it? Has it gotten you? I know you haven't finished it yet, but has it gotten
Mm-hmm.
you interested, or excited, or looking forward to Resident Evil 8 Village?
Yeah, I definitely because I personally really really like the first person perspective in it. I think it
Hmm.
works so well, and they utilize it to such an interesting degree too. Like the way, just like with Ethan's arms in it, the amount of awful shit that happens to his arms over the
I
course of
know.
that gray or over the course of that game is terrible. And there's something about just how personal that feels in first person. Like it's one thing watching like a zombie like latch on to like a Leon, and like take a bite out of him or whatever, and that seems gross. But when it's like right there, and there's like with the spiders, you like they jump out and they like like wiping him off their arm. There's like
Yeah.
bites all
Yeah.
over his arm and shit. Like it just gets to me a lot more. I think it's super effective. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm really excited for 8. I'm glad they're sticking with that style and that perspective. I'm definitely interested to see what more modern Resident Evil can bring.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that they have like I guess they haven't made a new third person Resident Evil anytime soon, right? It's
Hmm.
all the remakes right now. I do think that
Hmm.
they should try to do once they're done with their remakes, whatever they want to do, they should go alternate between first person and third person, because I do know there's an audience for both. Like, for example, my brother
Mhm.
Jesse, he's really into the third person Resident Evils to the degree where he's like, RE7 is not an Resident Evil game. He's like, it's not, and he won't even have a conversation about it's
Uh-huh.
not a Resident Evil game. It's
Uh-huh.
totally different. I don't know what they're doing. That kind of attitude.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I played RE7, I'm like, oh, I really like this. I just go like,
Mhm,
well,
mhm,
I don't want them to just do this. Like, I think RE2 remake looks awesome, and I
mhm.
know RE3 remake looks great too. And I haven't played the RE3 one, but I see 7. I'm like, this is so good. It puts you right in the situation. Like, even at the beginning, right? You're going into their house, and you're checking out all the stuff. You're opening the pot. You're like, oh, what's in there? Opening the fridge. You're like, oh,
Mhm,
that's gross.
mhm.
And if you did that, you couldn't do that in third person. You just couldn't. You're
Yeah, it
walking through.
doesn't
You're
have
like,
that same
what's in
level.
that drawer? Oh, there's a photo. Oh, you're looking at it all close and rotating it, and interesting, like what's going on here. You check underneath the fireplace, and there's that lever, or there's a videotape. You're like, I'm gonna watch this. And then even in the videotape, you're like basically the camera guy, and then you're walking around that kitchen, and when that other guy goes missing, and you're just like, and I don't remember his name, but he's
And
like,
yeah,
Chris or
okay,
whatever.
that scene was so well done. Like the way,
Hmm.
um, like I remember you were in chat during that. You're like, oh, keep an eye on this guy. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like
Setting you
okay.
up.
And then I look away for like 2 seconds, and then he's just fucking gone. Like I don't know how they directed that so well, but like getting you to look away and lose track of where this guy was, even when I was specifically trying to keep track of him. Like it's so good. Like the way they did that and freaking you out where Keith just vanishes in thin air and it felt so organic and cool.
Yeah, like I need to analyze that scene. That was honestly why
Yeah.
I put that little like hint out there, like, oh, keep an eye on them,
Mhm.
because I wanted to see
Mhm.
what, like, if you were actively looking, what would happen, because wasn't doing that when I played. And I was like, I
Yeah,
wonder,
yeah.
like, is he gonna, like, he must disappear, but how? And I still have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, it
You probably
was,
yeah, I'd imagine he like walks away somewhere and then just this model goes away. But yeah,
but
I don't
it
know.
was, yeah, it was
It's
cool.
such a well directed scene though, yeah. But and yeah, like you were saying, like the game is totally designed for first person. More like it doesn't feel like Resident Evil with a camera shift. It feels so much more almost personal, I guess,
Hmm.
in the way like one of the things I really praised Half-Life Alyx for is the way where like you're when you're in an environment and you're like picking up everything and looking at it and it
Yeah,
feels like a very real place because everything is so detailed and like um just yeah detailed. There's just props everywhere for you to look at and turn around and like really inspect. And 7 had that aspect a lot. Like you said, yeah, the fridge when you first walk in, like it allows for that sort of really organic world building where you can see everything on the walls and oh, yeah, look in the fridge and look at all the weird molded shit everywhere and like open up the microwave and how dusty and gross and broken it is. And I think when it's the camera's pulled back, it loses some of that level of detail, I guess, and how like sort of cramped and personal it feels.
I think it's 100% the reason why CG Project Red chose to go for the first person view on Cyberpunk too. Like,
Totally,
they were
yeah,
saying
yeah.
that they want it to be a more personal, like, you're in the city, you have that
Mhm,
sense of awe when you look up at the skyscrapers and everything. It's totally
mhm.
the same thing. Yeah, you made me think though of when you said Half-Life Alex. As a quick little side note here, um, I saw a mod on IGN, I think, that's like a BioShock themed like mod for it. I'm not sure how that
That's
works because I don't have
interesting.
the game, but it
Uh huh.
looked cool. It was like the kind of the beginning of, like, you're going up to the lighthouse, and then you go down through the bathysphere, and you're going through the
That's so
the
cool. I need to
metro
check that
area.
out.
You got to check it out. It was very cool looking, and like, just as a, with me being like, okay, BioShock's one of my top 5 games.
Mm.
I gotta check this video out, and I was skipping through it, but it was very cool to watch it, and I was like, man, I
Yeah.
wish I had this
Just
so I
VR
could just,
Bioshock.
yeah, I wish I had a Half-Life Alyx so I could play through that. But
Mm-hmm.
that was just a quick
Yeah, no,
little
the
side.
modding community for Half-Life Alyx is so cool. There's so many neat, like, yeah, like that, or other stuff I've seen people remaking. I think there's a whole project to remake the intro to Half-Life 2 in that game. Just stuff like that, like really interesting projects people are doing with it as just sort of a VR engine, even though
Hmm.
the developer tools for it haven't really been released by Valve. It's still
Oh, they
people are
haven't.
finding ways to do super neat. Well, sort of, but not to a point where you can do like it's still really really limited. which is kind of unfortunate. But I think a lot of that's just COVID. Like they haven't had the time to really like organize and make their tools usable to the public.
Mm,
But yeah.
gotcha.
Anyways, Katana Zero, what'd you think?
Well, let me just see here. I got a couple notes because I tend to forget. um, I was pulled into the game like right away. I love this game. I did not expect to
I'm so
love
glad to
it,
hear
but I
that.
expected to like it. When you
Mhm.
suggested it to me last week and I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I get the idea of what this is, I think. I didn't understand what it was. Going into it,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
trailer does not do it justice at all. It's so much better than any trailer. So if you're
Mhm.
hesitating on it, give it a try. For anybody who has Game Pass, just give it a try.
Totally,
Play it
totally.
for 5 minutes and see if you can stop, or see if you're interested. Because I do think that you will know within 5 minutes whether it's the kind of game you want to keep playing and check out. Because yeah, right away, the the pixel art was amazing. I loved the visual style. One thing, not just saying that, I also loved that the pixel art detail in the characters was so good that I could tell when a character would pull out a smoke before he even and was smoking it before he would even puff out any like smoke from his mouth. Like
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
little details there, like you have to really design that so well to be able to go, oh, that character's doing that thing, or he's taking off his jacket. It's like it's just a bunch of little blurred pixels together, and I feel like you have to really design that well. I don't know how they did it, but they did it very well. I could tell what was happening, and I find some games you just have no clue what's going on until there is a tell. Like, oh, he blew
Mhm.
smoke. Okay, he must be smoking. I did see that little red dot or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was really cool. I loved every little bit of environment. I liked the way that they had like rooms where like your whole screen is taken up by black, and then you have your room kind of in the center. It only takes up maybe 20-30% of your actual screen, and so you're very focused on what's happening in these cool rooms, say when you're back at your apartment, and then you go to the level, when you start a level and actually are ready to just wipe out a bunch of guys and kill them all, and you're
Yeah,
like, here we
yeah.
go, and then it goes to it's full screen, and you have like your whole screen space for your all the different floors, and you can see, oh, I can run up there, there's two guys upstairs, one guy has a shield, so I gotta roll behind him and slice him. That guy has a machine gun though, so I might want to slow down and reflect the bullet back into him by slicing it.
Mhm.
And then I don't know, like just planning out your levels and the way that you can clear a room, which is basically, I guess, for those who don't know, that's basically your you start a level, you have a room, and you clear it by killing all the enemies, and then you go to the next room. That's like your checkpoint. So every time you get hit, you die, and you go right back to the beginning of that room that you were in, not the whole level.
Mhm.
And I've just found that so nice. And I think if it took more than 5 seconds for you to restart, this game wouldn't be as great as it is. But the fact
No,
that
yeah,
you
it's just
instantly
instant. You
go
press
back
R and
and it's
yeah.
like pressing rewind on your VHS, and you're right back
Mhm.
to the beginning, and you're starting your room again, and you, okay, I messed up there. I pressed dodge too slow, or I jumped into a room with guys all around me, and that was an idiot move. So then how
How
can I do
far
that?
did you make it in? Out of
So
curiosity.
I got two endings in it.
Oh, nice.
I went I went crazy on this one. I feel like I played it enough to understand, but I unlocked hard mode and
Mhm.
I've unlocked speedrunning mode. Um,
Mhm.
I haven't tried hard
Did you
mode or
get all
anything.
like the like the fancy swords and stuff?
I don't think so. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, you can get like cool looking swords as sort of a collectible.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, so what I've done is basically I played through, and I don't want to spoil anything, but basically you do have a choice at that one point, right? And
Mhm.
you I you have a choice, and I chose an ending, or I chose one option that basically ended the game right there, and then I chose the
Mhm.
other option, and I just played through and got more story content and more answers to
Oh, interesting.
questions.
You chose the one that just ended the game there
That was
and
the
did
first
that.
one I chose.
That's interesting. You're the only person I've talked to who did that first, not as like a side thing.
Well, yeah, like I don't want to spoil anything again, but there, like I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
had read something before that would like lead that it was actually going to lead to something else, and then it just ended, and I went,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, obviously
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
more here, so I went back.
Mhm.
I still
Mhm.
have questions though about the story, like the characters, like the happy and sad
Mhm.
mask people, like that
It's
are
very much
freaking
a part
creepy.
one. Like it feels the story does feel like a setup for the sequel to it or whatever. But I assume there's going to be a sequel based on how the story of the game goes.
I hope so, because it's very interesting. It's very cool. It seems to be all about, yeah, like, just you got to play it. Whoever, it's like maybe a 5-6 hour game. Like, just play
Super
it.
short.
It's like maybe 2-3 sit down sessions of playing a game, and it's so good that it's worth playing and experiencing yourself. But just take my word for it.
Those were those games I beat like the day it came out. I think just because I was hyped for it, and yeah, it's so short. I beat it in a day.
Yeah, I can understand that absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things I wanted to just praise this for was the way the conversations are held and the way that it works. I am a huge fan of in like pixel art style games when you do have the text in a game that you have to read through, when it puts it out in a way that is interesting to look at. So like certain words that are full of anger are all like in red font, right? And then you have
Yeah, and they do the little like shaky thing.
yeah, they vibrate and they shake like you said, and like just you can tell how furious this person is based off of just reading the word "I'm pissed at you" or like "you fucking suck" or whatever, you know, like
it puts emotion in it without like it's like I don't know, it's a good replacement for voice acting, I guess, because when it is just like beep sound effects, not actual voices, it's hard to really get all the emotion out of it. But yeah, like you said, when you have like those when so even like the text is moving slow and it's like red and shaky, you could like you can feel that fury in it. It's
totally.
So good. Yeah.
My first experience was right away at the beginning when you first get your cell phone call, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I pressed A to skip, and I didn't realize that
you, like, just
whenever
cut
you
'em off?
talk,
Yeah.
you have that bar at the bottom of the screen. It's a white bar filled with with a certain amount of red. The red indicates how much time it's going to take for the other NPC to finish talking. And if you, and then a lot of times you can choose to skip that, just cut it off, and it just kind of breaks the discussion that was happening there, and then they will reply or it'll just end the conversation. So for me, I had a choice to hang up. As soon as the person would start talking, I just hang up as long as I pressed A during the red segment of the line. And and like I know the person on the phone just got mad and more mad and more mad, and I just kept hanging up and hanging up and hanging up. I'm like, this is great, I love this game. And eventually I listened, because I don't know if I think it started repeating himself, but it's like there's some great options that seem to be, that for me makes me feel like I might have missed certain dialogue that I want to replay the game to check out, and maybe
totally. Yeah, the dialogue's actually really reactive. Like choosing different things can actually legitimately get you out of certain combat situations, or it can change. Like in the first or second level, I think there's like the secretary, and that's one of the first sort of major like dialogue options moments, where she's saying like, oh, like what are you doing here? Because you come in with like a fucking like robe and a katana, and you can be like, oh, like it's just cosplay, you know, or you like
that's what I chose.
I don't know what you're talking about, and like the different things you do, or you can like antagonize her and make her really pissed at you, and all these different things, and then. But you can make it, if you do the cosplay right, you get back, and she's like, why is there blood all over you? You're like, it's just a cosplay, I don't know what she means. You're like, oh, okay, and you can go. Or if you make her pissed when you get out, like, will like call the cops on you, and you have to do a whole combat situation just to get out of that room, which you could totally miss otherwise. Like,
I missed that one.
It's cool, it's cool, like, if you go back and replay and sort of choose, like, shittier options, I guess, or just, you can be, like, a complete asshole to everybody. There's a secret boss in the game with a certain character. If you antagonize him enough, he will just attack you and become a boss fight. There's so many really cool things with the dialogue that are so easy to miss because of how like reactive it is.
Yeah, like and I'm still so sad that the impression video did not work out. I'm so upset that I'm sure it was like an update.
Too. I want to see your reactions to that.
I wish there was an update, like you would just have me muted, just give it a facial reaction, just wide eyes, like, oh man, when I don't want to.
You want to go into spoilers here?
I think so. Okay, spoiler warning. Okay. I'm going to start talking about spoilers here. So, obviously, our character has a drug in them, and
I think they explained that pretty early on.
Yeah, right? And our character, but I don't. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but I didn't really get it quite right away. I didn't know what they meant when they said Chronos. So, anyways, our character has Chronos, this drug that helps people, or helps these characters. I guess our character that we play as is like a part of the Gamma edition of these like super soldiers. It's supposed to be like a top like elite group that were a part of a war to help just go slaughter tons of people. Um, and like you don't have a memory, so you're kind of just doing these contracts to kill people. And the fact that you can basically, I guess, use that drug to slow down time whenever you want. It's just like a meter that
Mhm.
goes down and refills over time. And you have the rewind feature is kind of like when you go through a level and you get hit and you die and it rewinds to the beginning. That is explained through the story basically, and it's kind of
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
because it doesn't become just a gameplay feature. It's like, oh, that's something that actually makes sense. My character can kind of see
Mhm.
the future by experiencing different timelines and going back to where it was and back to the start again and knowing exactly what's going to happen. And I
And they do
loved
some really cool set pieces with that
they
too. Like
do
it's not
such
just a
cool
gameplay
stuff.
mechanic.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
favorite in particular was when and I already forgot his name, but the guy with the like the blue hair or helmet or whatever, and he's
Mhm.
has you tied up and he's punching you, and he's like, and as soon as you say something, he basically takes out his gun,
Yeah.
shoots you in the head, and you die. And then it rewinds, or then you just suddenly wake up and you're back at the beginning, and he's like talking to you again. And maybe you have, like, I think the first thing is the other guy behind you in the darkness calls him V or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And and so when he calls you V, then you get shot, and then you restart, and you can call him V, and then he goes like, "What?
Mhm.
How do you know my name?" And then you try again, and I just think it's so cool how you can like
Yeah. The
keep
way you talk
going.
about like, oh, you have a date tonight, right? And like
Yeah,
just
you're
kind of
just
like
telling him
mess with
like,
his
"Oh yeah, I know
head
you
and
have a
yeah.
date. I know your name's V, and by the way, this and this and this." And he goes like, "Uh, how do you know all that? Oh, and I also know you want my approval." And he just gets all
Mhm.
pissed off, and like that's like your way out, and it's cool because you just keep dying, and you have to keep
Mhm.
experiencing death in order to know the answers to
Even
all
like
these
the
questions.
boss fight, like the boss fight against another Chronos user, like another sort of veteran,
Hmm.
like that was so cool. The way where like they kill you and then you rewind, you kill them, and then they rewind, and it's just like you're kind of constantly messing with time with each other, and
Yeah,
like it's so trippy and weird, and it's like kind of hard to fully conceptualize what's actually happening. But like the way they portrayed in game is just so cool. Yeah.
100%. You know this. So there's the part after you choose life over death. That's the choice you get there. It's like, do you want to live or die? And when you choose death, you die, and the game's over. And that's what I did at first. So
Mhm.
I had thought that earlier because they meet you sleeping on the couch, and they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I thought that I read somewhere that life means death and death means life." So I thought it was like something to keep in mind, and that it's going to be a trick later on. So I chose death thinking
Mhm.
that it would be the opposite for some reason because of what they had mentioned earlier. And that's why I
Mhm.
ended up just having the game end. But
Yeah.
um with those characters and that choice and choosing life, then you get to play as the dragon, right? The blonde-haired
Mm.
guy with the sword. And he has that cool like lightning flash attack, and
Yeah,
it
that was such an
looks
unexpected thing. Yeah.
it's so cool too, and you're like, wow, this guy's super powerful.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask you, did you ever rewatch when you would play as him and you cleared a room? Did you ever rewatch? You know how it goes black and white and you can rewatch like how you cleared the room and how you did?
Hmm. Yeah,
Isn't
I
it
did.
cool how it doesn't, it's just in normal speed. So even though you went slow motion and you zipped across the room and you
Yeah,
move
it
like
just looks
20
like
feet
you're.
forward, sliced a guy,
Yeah.
when you rewatch it, it's just an instant millisecond. Like you're on one side of the room,
Yeah.
suddenly you're over on the other side of the room and all the guys are dead. And it looks so
Hmm.
cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. No, I love that too, and how when you clear room, it shows you like the real time playback of what you did,
Hmm.
cause yeah, like the lore reason is basically, the drug gives you like precognition, so he when you're playing through the game, it's essentially the main character like in his head figuring out what's going to happen and figuring out like the best path to do things. And then when you clear it, it has a playthrough, and that's basically like in real time what's actually happening of him like initiating the plan you created. That's like the lore thing. And in practice, you're just playing it and retrying. Um, but I really like that it has it like sort of similar to Super Hot, where it has that like real time sort of where you can like it shows you just sort of messing a bunch of dudes up. Because if you're using like slow mo in it, it looks a lot slower. But I don't know, it's just cool. And but also like I know I have a friend who got really into speedrunning this game, and at that point like you don't use any slow mo, And
Yeah,
so when he's going on like hard mode with no slow mo in the whole thing, just like deflecting bullets perfectly and stuff, it's super. It looks like when it's replaying it in real time, but that's just how he plays it. It's so crazy to watch.
that is.
Like there's such a fun skill ceiling to this. It's fun to replay.
I can tell, and I bet you that would look really cool.
Hmm.
So, oh, did you happen to see? So the media's got their PS5s now, and I'm hoping
Yeah,
that
I
we're
saw
gonna get
that.
some more details. I think that would be really cool. I don't know anything about embargoes or when that would be up, but I mean, the fact that they have them in their hands means it's coming. We're gonna have some more
Yeah, it's a good
information,
sign.
and
Yeah.
that's good. Um,
Yeah, I know we've been saying for a few weeks just how like everyone has Xboxes and has been playing Xboxes and talking about it, how it performs with backwards compatibility, or even playing next gen games like with Yakuza. Um, and then like, well, where's PlayStation? So it's nice to see that they're finally making that step, sending them out. People have it in their hands, even if because I think right now we can only see the box. But the fact that we
yeah,
will later be able to see, like, hopefully pretty soon, be able to actually see people playing games on it makes me happy.
yeah. I just want some more information on how everything works when you're in a game and how flipping back out, going back into a media app, and then changing your
Hmm.
settings. What kind of settings do you have? How does transferring your information work, and all those little details that I'm sure will come out soon. I'm excited for that.
Hmm.
Um, and then I saw today Apex Legends is launching on Steam finally. We've talked about it a couple times
Finally,
on
yeah.
the podcast. I just really want to get it on Steam so I can not play it on Origin. I've refused to. November 4th, people. That's the date. It launches along with Season 7. And
Hmm.
there's a Halloween event going on right now, right? You know a lot more than me
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Yeah, so I've been playing lots of Apex, as I said in the beginning, as usual. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm happy it's coming to Steam. I probably won't even re-download it on Steam just because I'm fine with it on Origin. It doesn't really matter much to me, but I know it matters to other people. But yeah, the Halloween event. It's sort of it's cool. I also really don't agree with a lot of the decisions they made for it, as from like a consumer's standpoint, I suppose. The mode they have in it is cool. It honestly just kind of makes me crave Titanfall because what it is it's basically when you die, you respawn as like a shadow form character, which means you can't use a gun or anything. You just like run really fast and you have this cool like melee attack. And you can respawn indefinitely, basically until all the living party members die, and it's just like ghosts, and then you guys lose and die. Um, but when you're in that like sort of ghost shadow form, you can like wall run and double jump, just like you could in Titanfall, and God, it feels so good,
Oh,
and
really?
it really like playing it. I feel like I've said this a million times. Playing it, just like I wish it was in this game, even if it was just like a limited time mode where it's literally just Apex, but it has Titanfall movement because like the code for it is in the game. I feel like it wouldn't be too hard to implement. Um,
Well, do you think they're
but
testing
but
it?
I wonder if they are. I hope they are. I mean, I know they've said previously that they intentionally took those things out of the game because like the maps just didn't really like it didn't work with the maps super well, and it
Hmm.
sort of broke the balance. Like just in a battle royale format, it doesn't work as well, which honestly makes a lot of sense. I don't think I'd want it in the standard like format, but I think it would be cool just for like a week to play mode with it, even if it's totally unbalanced and broken. I just think it would be fun.
Right.
um the more negative side of it for me is what they're doing with cosmetics in it, which
Uh-oh.
like they have new skins, but the new skins are basically just recolors of last year's Halloween skins, which is whatever. The bigger thing for me is that the packs are so expensive. Well, there's only one skin so far that you can buy on its own, and all the others you have to buy in like a bundle. So I'm a crypto main, and there's like this cool sort of like Dracula crypto skin that I really want. And I wish I could just pay the like $10-15 and get it, but I can't. I have to spend $30 in currency to get
Jeez.
a bundle that comes with a Dracula skin, a recolored Dracula skin, and like a thing for his banner that I don't really want. When I like it just seems so unnecessary. Or if I want a skin for Bloodhound, it only comes in $100 bundle,
Holy shit.
which is fucking brutal. Like I can't ever imagine spending $100 on a bundle. And same thing, that bundle is like 2 recolor skins for Crypto, 2 recolor skins for Bloodhound, and then like another couple banner things. So if I only want that one Bloodhound skin, like why do I have to pay $100 to get that one thing
Yeah.
that is like 15 to $20 normally? It's kind of ridiculous, and that really just rubbed me the wrong way. Like the way you
Mhm.
can't just buy things individually, and you have to like way overpay for the currency you need to actually like get it. It's just frustrating. I hope they like cycle those skins in and out so you can buy them individually. Also, the like the loot crates for the season, like pumpkins or whatever, are I think almost $10 each, which is also ridiculous because usually crates are like 99 cents in Apex and other games. Um, but yeah, it's a little frustrating. At the same time, it's a free to play game and it's all just cosmetic. So at the end of the day, you could completely ignore it and your experience will not be changed. So it's
Yeah.
really not the end of the world, but it does sort of rub me the wrong way. I wish games would not implement stuff like that quite as much. Um, but yeah, other than that, the mode is super super fun. I've been playing a lot of it. Um, and the new legend coming out next season too. They've sort of been teasing her with like some challenges in game. I'm
Oh yeah.
excited for what she is. Yeah, it
Tell
seems
me
like some
more.
sort of I've been saying for a long time I want like another true healer character in the game, just because those are usually like in Overwatch I always played healers and stuff. And Lifeline's there. I just don't really love Lifeline's abilities. But I want something like I don't know, maybe some form of like long range healing, or I'm not sure, something closer to like Anna in Overwatch if you played that, where
Yep.
she has the sniper
Yeah.
that can like so you can heal people from a distance if you have good accuracy. Something like that
Yeah.
would be interesting, like a more high skill healer, I suppose. Um,
That makes sense.
but and it seems like it maybe is leaning towards that, just because she's like a scientist character is the new legend,
Right.
or maybe something more like Moira from Overwatch, where she sort of has like that duality of like healing and damage. That would be cool too. But I'm interested to see who she is. I don't really have anything to say yet because we don't actually know anything other than like we've heard her voice and seen her face. Um, but
Do
yeah, I'm new legends always excite me. It's just fun to jump back in and mess around.
Do you know if she's gonna be in like season 7 when
Yeah, usually when a season launches, it comes with like map changes and a new legend
Okay,
or
cool.
a new map. But we've only gotten one new map. I also I really want a new map. The current ones are I'm just kind of bored of them, to be honest. Like I have nothing against them. I think they're both really fun, but I just kind of want something new. I'm craving a new spot. Even if that means just like totally reworking one of them. I just like I don't know. I'm getting bored.
Yeah, yeah, just a change in some scenery would be nice.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I really want to play it. Like I'm planning on jumping in pretty hard as soon as November 4th comes around, because I need
Do it.
to
Yeah.
like that'll be probably all I play until I get Demon Souls. If my
Mhm.
PS5 arrives on time, that'll just be like 6 days, 7 days. But
Hopefully, yeah.
but uh but otherwise I might just be waiting until the November 19th when I play Cyberpunk. So hopefully we can make some time to play together. That'd be a good time.
100%. Yeah.
Um so one another thing I was thinking about for next week, it's gonna be the day before Halloween. Uh, I was thinking we should discuss, or we should like talk about our top 5 horror games for people to try, or anybody who
Mhm.
is like interested in, if there's anybody interested in playing a horror game on Halloween, which I'm sure there's tons of people who do that. It might be a good way to just expose people to a few games that they haven't thought of. So I mean,
Yeah, totally.
just something I wanted to suggest, and I think you're down for that.
Yeah, 100%. It's gonna be it's like, cause you messaged me that before the show, and I was trying to think. I don't know. A lot of it is because I don't play like a ton of horror games, so a lot of it was just trying to think of like horror games I have played.
Hmm.
But that said, like all the horror games I've played, I've pretty much loved, um, with like a couple exceptions. But yeah, and I think I've talked about some of them on the show. But I'm excited to talk about that. I've thought of the games I want at this point. It's just kind of like that really hard thing of like, oh, I love both of these games. Like
Hmm.
I really want just them all to be at number one. Like if they can all just be at number one, that'd be perfect. But yeah, trying to get them into a list is fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, it'll just be a good way to kind of have a stack of, okay, this is my number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Might
Mhm.
be some challenges in there, but
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, my criteria for myself is going to be that it has to be a horror game that's actually made me jump. That's
Oh,
gonna,
yeah, yeah.
but that doesn't have to be the criteria for you. That's for me. It's going to be a
Mhm.
game that's made me either like do a little startled jump in my seat or fully like
Mhm.
scream.
Yeah.
So
So I think the one, without saying anything, I think the one that will take my number one spot did not make me jump at all. However, it's like one of the creepiest pieces of media I've played.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk about it. Excited for Halloween.
yeah.
I was kind of rolling the idea around my head too, of I know I sometimes I think I've talked about itch.io on here before. Just sort of like playing weird like small games on there.
Hmm.
And I've been thinking about going in just like the horror section of that and finding just a bunch of like weird like who knows how good they are. Just kind of download them and try to stream like
Oh, cool.
10 plus of these things. Just like play like 10-20 minutes of each of them and see what I can do. But I think that'd be fun and I can bring my findings into the next episode if I find any treasures in there too.
Yeah, please do. That'd be fun.
Mhm.
I hopefully you find some cool things, little nuggets.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've discussed our game club game from last week. It's time to talk about what we're gonna play this next week. I
So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we're suggesting games for each other.
Hmm.
And oh shoot, where did I put it? You know what? I got rid of it because you were talking to me about your suggestion. So why don't you go first? Because then I can get it up on the screen here.
All right. Yeah. So, I want you to play Thumper, which came out like a couple years ago or a few years, I think. It's super cool. You looked at it like, oh, is this kind of like Guitar Hero? And I think, yeah, it's like a horror Guitar Hero. I think is the best way to put it. Where it's this weird like, I think they described the game as like rhythm violence because it's, I don't know, it's just a vibe like no other horror game, and it's super fun. Um, So yeah, I think. Do you play many rhythm games? I'm not actually sure.
I haven't played too many. I played Rock Band way back. My brother and sister and I
Okay.
we'd be rocking out with the drums, guitar, and vocals. But
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We've been broadening each other's horizons with this a bit, so I thought I'd give you something. I'm not sure if you are into the genre or not, but it could be cool. And as far as rhythm games go, this is a really unique one. So yeah.
I enjoy rhythm, and it's interesting to look at. And if
Hmm.
you said it's a little bit oh, did you say it was horror ish or kind of just more of a like
Yeah,
just a
it's in the horror
creepy?
section on Game Pass. I don't
Yeah,
know if horror is the word I'd use, but it is like a lot of very sort of like abstract, hellish imagery in it.
right. Um, then the game I suggested for you was, and I mentioned this one before on our podcast, Death's Gambit. Um, an Adult Swim game.
They make good games. I've played some great Adult Swim games.
I don't think if I have, I definitely didn't know it was from them. This is the first one that I've ever played, or the only one I've ever played that I've
I think.
realized was made by them, which I find in.
I don't know. I'm telling you Adult Swim because I can't even remember what it is. I just specifically remember playing one game, and I looked at the publisher and went, "Oh, whoa! Like that's Adult Swim."
What was the game like?
Yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, Duck Game. I think I don't think that was it, but Duck Game's very good. Battle Chef Brigade. Battle Chef Brigade is good. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was Duck Game. I don't know. I just remember playing one that I thought was like very good and surprised to see where it came from.
Yeah. So for my suggestion with Death's Gambit, just like you, we're trying to broaden each other's horizon a bit, push us out
Hmm.
of our
Hmm.
comfort zone, what we'd normally select. And this game is I know you're not super into the Dark Souls genre, and you haven't played them that much, right?
Hmm.
Or am I
Yeah,
wrong?
I played Sekiro. I think
Hmm.
that is it. I did not beat Sekiro, but I think that's my only real exposure.
Right. So in this game, like you do have a lot of similarities to Dark Souls 1, I'll say, more than any of the other Souls
Hmm.
games. Dark Souls 1 in particular. Like you have your hub area you come back to, NPCs start to join that area as you play through. You have more characters to talk to, more things you can equipment you can buy or check out, and things you can do. There are bosses are like the focus in terms of like what you're trying to do is beat bosses, and the
Mm-hmm.
bosses are usually locking away the next area or another area, but the world is very intertwined, and you find different shortcuts to other areas that maybe you weren't able to visit before, or maybe took too long to get to before, and now you can unlock those areas and get to them quicker, and it's very fun and rewarding in that way, where exploring is actually worth it. um
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, like, I don't know, I'm just playing a video here of it, but the art style is very pixelated. This is not there we go, but it,
Yeah, the
it
art looks beautiful just from these screenshots.
the oh, maybe I'll turn this down again. The combat is very quick and smooth. Like, your actions feel good when you play. Like, I don't know how it looks
That's
necessarily
good. Yeah.
for it, but it does feel as good as you would hope. Like, just like Katana Zero, and that's kind of what made me start thinking of this
Mm-hmm.
game again. Was it's not as fast paced at all. It's not,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're trying to do an action, it does it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you do something reward, like you complete a task or you defeat a boss, it feels rewarding, and I feel like
If
those
it's
things
more
are similar.
If it's more fast paced than Dark Souls, I think that will help me a bit, because part of my issue with Souls likes is just how like physically slow it moves. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, when I think of like an action game, I think of something like DMC, where it is you press X and it's slice and just instantly combo and all that. And
yeah,
obviously this won't be like that, but when it is very much like a and a slice, and you have to think about like the timing of your attacks, that doesn't feel as good to me. But if this is more fast paced and also challenging games in 2D for whatever reason, I am way more into than
that's what I was
when it's
thinking.
3D.
Yep.
Yeah, I have no idea why. Like Celeste, brutal, but I loved every second of it. Like
Hmm.
I don't know what it is. They're like Hotline Miami, Katana Zero, both pretty damn hard games.
Well,
I also just I really enjoyed getting my ass beat down by them.
well, those three let you restart pretty quick. This game
Mm,
is a lot more forgiving, where you do not lose all your experience necessarily.
mm.
Compared to Dark Souls, where you just lose everything if you've died twice in a row, kind of thing. I
Yeah,
think this
yeah.
might do that. It's been a while since I played, but I do remember it being very forgiving in comparison, and being like, oh, okay,
That's
so
good. Yeah.
I don't have to do everything all over again, or if I have to go back through an area, it's not as bad. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is faster paced, and also attack speed, obviously very focused on what weapon you're using. I used a big sword.
Oh.
I found that I like that. I like being able to go, okay, dodge, 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 time for that big opening, and then swing a big heavy
Hmm.
blade and get one hit in, and then dodge, 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 back and forth. But you could choose
Yeah,
to
yeah.
not be able to dodge much. Maybe you're focusing on armor. Maybe you're going to focus on a shield, and just
Hmm.
take the hits as much as you can. Have a high stamina, and then focus on getting attacks in when there's an opening. Anyways,
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting, and don't let the thing you want to do with these games is don't assume you have to kill everything, and don't assume that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't kill certain characters, because you usually can.
Hmm.
So if someone's talking to you and you feel like killing them, try it.
If
or
you don't
don't
like
or
it.
don't. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. Switch back here. um do you I feel like I'm missing something, but maybe not. We kind of flew right through there.
Gonna flip through a list, yeah.
I totally did miss something on the dock though.
Did you?
I forgot about number 4 there. Uh Wanted to talk about, should games get an updated review as they get
Right,
updated
right.
or changed? Because these days games get updated all the time. It can be a small little
Hmm.
patch to fix bugs, or it can be a big update like Ghost of Tsushima that got their Legends update to have full on co-op, and they're going to be adding a raid and all this stuff for free. Like,
Hmm.
so that's on, in my opinion, more of a positive side. And then you have like NBA 2K that adds in, I believe it's that one,
God.
that adds in
Yeah.
the ads right before the match, and all throughout the game. And it's like you have to watch a Oculus trailer in the middle of your
Hmm.
game that you paid full price for. Why? Why is that a thing? Does that affect the score? Should it? Should reviews just be, regardless of what they can do to content later, this is the review, and just leave it at that? That I have a few thoughts on this, but I was thinking of just letting you go first here and see what you think.
All right.
Let's just start
Yeah,
with
I'm.
just from what what about Ghost of Tsushima? Let's start about like talking about that one. It got a huge
Mhm,
add-on. It has a two-player co-op campaign basically that like has some
mhm,
story for the two-player, and then you can go up to four-player and do missions. And it looks awesome. I can't wait to play it. I don't have the game. Does that make
mhm.
the review better? And if so, what do you think of that?
I mean, I think it really depends on what that content actually brings. Like, if they put in a free expansion, that's just kind of it, like similar to like what I heard from the Spider-Man DLC, where it's like, yeah, it's fine. It's more Spider-Man. It's not that engaging, but like, it's more content, I guess. Um, if they had something in like that, I don't know if I don't know. It's hard putting expansions into the score of a main game just because, yeah, a lot of the time expansions are either not great because they're an expansion or like that weird thing where an example the Doom Eternal DLC either came out recently or is coming out soon. And despite Doom Eternal being one of my favorite games of this year, I've had no interest in jumping back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of why, and I think it's because like Doom especially Doom is a really hard game and it has this really tight, precise difficulty curve that makes it so you're constantly like, like out of your comfort zone doing things that are more challenging and like interesting. And by the end of the game, you're basically a god. Like you're so good at it. But then to take like 6 months off and then come back, I feel like I'm just gonna be floundering in it. Like if it's throwing me more like late game content, it's gonna go way over my head. I'm gonna have no idea what's happening. And I think that sort of thing with expansions is pretty common. Like no matter how good it is, it's just such a different experience from bundling it into the main game. Um, that said, on the more negative side of things, with something like 2K, absolutely, I think that should take it into account because while even a kind of shitty DLC, the main game is still amazing. Like you can't really discount that, right? Um, and so if the DLC is not great, you can just not play it and ignore it. And guess what? There's still an amazing, great game. But when it's something like putting ads into a $60 game that like that stop you from, because I think they play in the loading screens, but usually you can like edit your team and stuff in the loading screens, but you can't do that anymore because you're forced to watch an ad.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's something like that, yes, I like that is actively making the main game a worse experience, and I think because of that, the score should go down. That said, as for like editing reviews, I think I think it would be great if we did, but I just don't think it's possible per se. I think, at least with an asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think for someone like IGN or GameSpot, I don't think it's really realistic, just because those videos wouldn't really get views.
Yep.
And for a company that's trying to make money like IGN, if you make another review on a game that came out months ago and people aren't really talking about, even if it is kind of important, people aren't going to watch it, and it's a lot of time to invest into a video that won't really have much output. It would be great if that was a thing, and I think where the asterisk comes in is that like NBA 2K YouTube channel, like NBA 2K specific YouTube channels exist, like, and for a reason. It's for stuff like this, because
Mm-hmm.
if I'm big into 2K and I see a channel saying, "Oh, this game got a lot worse because they added ads," and they can, because that's all the content they make, and I'm specifically going to that channel for that content. That makes sense. Like for Half-Life Alex, it got a lot of really really cool stuff added after release, like to the main game. It got um, mod support, it got custom app support, like they did some cool new like shader things, and it was all small stuff, but because I'm in those like Half-Life ecosystems and watching like Valve News Network and stuff like that, I can see it and I know it's actively getting better. But I also wouldn't really expect um, a major outlet to actually make content on that, because most people don't really care as much. But yeah, I think in a perfect world, absolutely, I think like there is a responsibility to inform the consumer with a review even after release. But I think with some exceptions, it's just not necessarily feasible or even worth it. I think those exceptions, now the thing about are like IGN and GameSpot do sometimes go back and re-review games, and that's usually in the case of like a No Man's Sky, where it goes from being
Yeah.
like a game that was pretty mediocre and disappointing to something that is really incredible now after so much support. And I think when it's something like that, where it is such a markedly better experience, I think because that's not super common, like if you re-review the game every update, I think like that's just too much content to make. It's not really reasonable. But when it's something like that, where after years and you go back and this game is crazy, yeah, totally re-review it. Overwatch, I think GameSpot re-reviewed a while ago, and they gave it a 10 because yeah, I would agree the game has gotten so much better after launch. Like all the quality of life things they've added, the new heroes, like the roll queue and stuff like that. It's worth going back and re-reviewing. But I think for things even like ads, I don't know if that's big enough to go back and make a whole new video and a whole new score for something. Um, I think that's more in the hands of a smaller like hobbyist, or not hobbyist, but like
Focus group.
yeah, a more focused outlet than
Hmm.
just a general outlet.
Yeah, I personally do not think that reviews need to change at all. I don't think my personal view on this is that regardless if the game gets terrible after or the game gets a ton better, that the score that it is given when it comes out is just there to help people who are interested in buying it when it gets launched. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
planning on buying it later, you have all kinds of websites and articles and content and information to absorb to get an informed decision at that point. You can go, tons of
Mm-hmm.
people have played this game, tons of people have reviewed it, tons of people have talked about the stupid ads that have been added in, or the amazing free
Mm-hmm.
expansion that got added in that was, that is super fun too, and like this game's even better now than it was when it launched. And like you hear that kind of thing all the time, and I feel like if anyone's interested in a game later who cares about reviews or information on a game before they buy it, then I think that they
Mm-hmm.
will get that information regardless, like not from a review, because the review was
Mm-hmm.
for when it launched. How was it when it launched? And I do think Overwatch, for example, should have kept the same review. And I think that if like even if Anthem got a ton better now, I think that Anthem should just that same score. I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people wouldn't agree on that one, but I feel like there needs to be that like that stamp, that history of like, no, you launched this game broken, or this game was launched in a way that made it get this score, and now you got to live with it. You can make it better, but that's up to you to talk to a community now, or try to get your like maybe there would be a video. It's not a review video, but maybe let's say IGN, right in this case, goes, "Oh, Anthem's a
Mm-hmm.
ton better now. They have this new update that happened, and that was really cool." And then people are like, "Oh, that's weird. Like I didn't know that was a thing." Maybe everyone's playing it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
talking about it and tweeting about it, and then it starts to become a thing. Like I don't think anyone started playing Among Us because of a review. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that a game that even starts out, like Anthem, I'm just using that because that's the most recent one that I was really disappointed and like did
Yeah. Yeah.
terrible in. But if that game suddenly got great, I feel like everyone would hear about it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's my
I
opinion
think
on it.
I think the counterpoint to that would be, like yes, definitely for like you and me, and even not like you and me, even if you're not as invested. But I think for someone who isn't really like a capital G gamer, and they get an Xbox or whatever, and they're like, oh, I like basketball, and they look up NBA 2K21 review, and they see the Metacritic, and they see, oh, like this game got generally good reviews, and then they buy it, and then say it gets way worse than it is now. Say the game is barely even playable,
Mm.
which obviously that's like that's an exaggeration from how it is now, but that's happened with games before, where they've just become completely broken over time. And you buy the game, you're like, oh Jesus, this is awful. Like as someone who's not really invested in that, I feel like, and that's where thing like in a perfect world, it'd be great if outlets could update their Metascore and all that, so that that very uninformed just casual person could see it and instantly know to maybe stay away. Or on the other hand, if they're looking at a game like Anthem, and if Anthem gets super good and they're like, oh, this game looks cool, oh, it's not that great, and then they don't buy it, which, like you said, maybe Anthem deserved that, but it would be great in a perfect world if that person could see that, oh, it actually is good now, and then buy it and jump in and enjoy it or whatever. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I don't think it's a huge thing. I think games not getting updated scores is overall kind of a small thing. If you really want to know my opinion on reviews, I don't think reviews should necessarily have scores. I think reviews that are just people talking about what they thought of the game is usually more effective of a review than putting a number at the end, because I feel like it's easy to dwell on that number a little bit too much. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you hear someone talk about a game, you're like, oh, but they gave it a 7. Even if you liked everything that they're saying that they liked and didn't like, you're like, oh, if that's a 7, like, that's kind of average. There's so many other games that are 8s and 9s that I could play, even if that game you probably would enjoy more because it's more up your alley than the other games that have a higher meta score. I think just having a discussion about a game and talk, like the way Polygon does reviews, actually I really enjoy, where there's no score, they just talk about like what the game is and how it made them feel and like their thoughts on it. I think personally that's a better way. So there isn't that number, and if games get better or worse over time, or if someone sees a game like Anthem and sees like, oh, like the combat's good, the flying's good, it's just that it doesn't really have any content and the story's bad and the whatever and this, but if they don't care, then they can buy it anyway. Or when they're looking through those articles, also see someone that's like, oh, actually got super good now and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I totally agree with you on all that for sure.
mhm.
I agree. The discussions are also more, well, at least that's maybe just for you and me, but like I find that
Mhm.
much more interesting to listen to and to watch
Mhm.
is someone's opinion on a bunch of parts of it, not just it's a number and that's it. Because
Mhm.
yeah, it's also too hard
I,
not to compare it to other numbers.
Definitely, yeah. I think part of it too is it's easy for reviews to be too objective, I guess. I feel like when you're reviewing something, it is you I feel like you should be reviewing it based on how it made you feel. And a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time, like I see IGN getting flack for this a lot, where they'll review something and the reviewer might be like, like they give it a lower score because they just didn't like it. Like, even if it's their personal taste, or they just didn't like how it made them feel, and that's honestly, I think, kind of how it should be. If you like know one person's word is law, like, is that an objective, unbiased review? God, no. But I don't think that really exists. Like, I saw Half-Life Alyx, like, it largely got pretty great reviews when it launched, but there's also a fair bit of people who didn't. It just didn't vibe with them. They didn't like it that much. And for whatever one reason or another, even if it was like a lot of the reasons I saw weren't like objective, like, oh, this is bad or this is good. It was just like, I didn't like this. I didn't like how slow it is. I don't like how simple the combat is. I didn't like that I can't do this. And that's totally fair. Like, I think if you don't like certain aspects of the game because you don't like it, I think that's fine. And I think when you have a number attached to it, I think um, it pushes people to be more objective in the reviews, I think, which is, I mean, that's also a very unobjective opinion. Is I personally like more biased reviews of like Donkey. He's funny, and he gets a lot of criticism for his reviews. I think a lot of it is pretty founded, but the one thing I really respect about his reviews is that he always puts a lot of his own bias into it and makes that bias very clear. Like, he gave Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game that I loved, he kind of didn't like it, and he kind of shat on it the whole video. And fair. I mean, all the stuff he said about it, he wasn't wrong. Like, if you're not into that, like, by all means, God, like, the pacing was pretty bad in some parts. Like, things get boring. I can totally understand if you didn't like it. And I think just putting your opinions, even if they aren't like the correct opinions, I think it makes for a better review than just trying to talk about pure, like, objective truth of a game.
Yep, I agree. I really enjoy listening to Skill Up's reviews just because it's like 50,
Mm-hmm.
it could be like
Same, yeah.
50 minutes of talking, even if I don't agree at the end. Doesn't matter. It was still enjoyable for me to listen to. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
listen to it while playing a game and just, yeah, okay, cool. That's informative. Or I'll just listen to it to see what he thought of a game that I enjoyed,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like I was talking to you before we even started doing this podcast about how I want to do reviews in the future and how I'd want to do them,
Mm-hmm.
and it did involve a lot of numbers. And yeah, I have been thinking a lot about how, like, I just don't want to because it's too hard to have.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to originally do categories, right, and have each category have a number and blah 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 blah, all these other things. Doesn't matter. I do like the idea of just talking about it, and who knows,
Mhm.
maybe
I
you'll
mean, the way we've been doing it, really,
exactly.
like, every we review games every show here pretty much. You know,
Yeah.
we bring a game in and we talk about it, and I think it's always great discussion. You know, you talk about what you liked, what you didn't like. We can have discussion. Like we often will have different opinions on different things, and I think that's good. Like when you have just a discussion separate from a number, I honestly think it's more informative of a review,
Yep.
and just more interesting content at the end of the day too.
Yeah, seeing how it moved a person and everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But just like how everything has to end at some point, we got to end our episode. We're going long. So
Talked about that for a while. I think that was mostly me monologuing, but
no, that's fine. It was good. It's informative. I appreciate it. So just to wrap this up, I just want to say thanks for watching, everybody. Again, this is Screen Peeking, and you can watch this every Saturday morning. Ziggy, as always, we can find you at Ziggy Hickson, right? Just about everywhere.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Even the Twitter.
Even the Twitter, technically, even though I don't even have the app on my phone, to be honest.
I just wanted to
always
throw
just
that out.
feel bad when I open it, but yeah.
Yeah, and then again, you can find me at Nick Loeb, which everywhere again. Add me on PlayStation, so I have friends on there. Once I get my PS5,
Do it, yeah.
All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.
See ya.